Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and this is BudgetSew, where we create stylish, fashionable looks as inexpensively as possible. So grab a cozy cup of tea, settle in your favorite chair, and join me as I share my latest Amazon sewing and hobby haul. Just a quick note before we get started, today I'm wearing my McCall's 7869 top. The link to the video with that make is right here at the top of the screen. The first item I bought was this sheet set by Wake in a Cloud. They're navy blue with a white constellation print and are made from 100% polyester. They're advertised as soft, durable, lightweight, and fade resistant, wrinkle-free, and machine washable. The reviews were excellent, and when I spotted them on sale, I immediately started thinking about all the sewing possibilities. Instead of using them on a bed, I'm planning to turn them into summer clothing. One of the projects I have in mind is McCall's 8212. McCall's 8212 is a dress, belt, hat, and mask pattern. These pullover raglan sleeve dresses feature placket necklines along with several sleeve and hemline variations. View A has tucks in the skirt, short sleeves, and a tie belt. View B features a shirt tail hem, while views B and C both have long sleeves. The pattern also includes a wide brim sun hat in sizes small, medium, and large, as well as a matching mask in the same size range. The suggested fabrics include cotton blends, linen, seersucker, and gingham, while the hat lining should be made from lining fabric. Views B and C require 3/4 of a yard of 3/8 of an inch elastic for the sleeves. The hat uses 3/4 of a yard of 5/8 of an inch ribbon, and the mask requires 1/2 yard of 1/2 inch elastic. The pattern comes in two size ranges, extra small to medium and large to double XL. I ordered the extra small to medium range for my mom and the large to double XL range for myself. I've been eyeing this pattern for a long time. I love how McCall styled the dress with matching accessories. It feels almost like a mini wardrobe pattern because you're getting so much more than just a dress. Between the dress, hat, belt, and mask, it really feels like I got my money's worth. I'm especially excited about making the matching sun hat from the constellation print fabric. I think the whole outfit is going to look absolutely fabulous. Next up, I picked up 2 packages of these Dritz extra large eyelet kits. Each packet contains 10 eyelet sets along with the installation tools. The eyelets measure 7/16 of an inch, which makes them large enough to be a real design feature instead of just a functional detail. The reason I bought these eyelets was for a couple of future sewing projects. 8 of the eyelets will be used for McCall's 7778, and the remaining 12 are destined for McCall's 7862. McCall's 7862, also known as Ada McCall's, is a collection of loose-fitting, unlined dresses featuring raglan sleeves, side seam pockets, and a back hook and eye closure. The pattern includes several sleeve and hemline variations with lengths ranging from above the knee to a dramatic shaped high-low hem. View A features contrast sleeves. View B includes decorative grommets with twill tape lacing, and View D has button cuffs. Both views B and D have the shaped hemline, which allows the wrong side of the fabric to show as part of the design. The suggested fabrics include poplin, cotton blends, stable knits, and crepes. All versions close at the back with a hook and eye fastening, but View B is the one that caught my attention. It requires 4 yards or 3.7 meters of 7/8 of an inch ribbon or twill tape, along with 12 extra large grommets or eyelets. View D requires 4 1/2-inch buttons. This pattern comes in 2 size ranges, 6 to 14 and 14 to 22. Since my mom and I often sew the same patterns, I picked up the smaller size range for her and the larger size range for myself. View B sold me on this pattern. I love the way the ribbon laces through the grommets along the sleeves. It's such an unexpected detail that makes the dress look more expensive and designer inspired. Sometimes it's the little details that elevate a pattern from nice to absolutely irresistible. And for me, those laced up sleeves were impossible to resist. I can picture how beautiful they'll look made up in the right fabric. I also picked up this Amazon Basic sheet set in a classic striped navy. These sheets are made from polyester and were advertised as being super soft, durable, wrinkle resistant, and comfortable year-round. They're also easy to care for, which is always a bonus. Just machine wash warm, skip the bleach, and tumble dry on low. As soon as I saw the stripes, I started thinking about dresses. I love using striped fabrics because there are so many opportunities to play with the direction of stripes and create interesting design details. For this fabric, I'm planning to make McCall's 7950, also known as Adela McCall's. McCall's 7950 is a collection of dresses in 2 lengths that are fitted through the bust and feature a self-face bodice, slightly flared gathered skirt, shoulder straps, and pocket variations. Views A and B include front bodice ties, while dresses A, B, and D feature side seam pockets. Dress C has patch pockets instead. Views A and B are designed to hit around the knee, while views C and D fall to a lower calf length. View B is shown in a beautiful scalloped border print, which highlights how different the dress can look depending on the fabric choice. This is one of McCall's easy sew patterns and comes in 2 size ranges, 6 to 14 and 14 to 22. One thing I noticed is that the pattern envelope says it was released in 2022, but when I looked it up online, I found reviews dating back to 2019. Sewing pattern companies sometimes release or repackage popular patterns, so it's always fun to do a little detective work and learn more about a pattern's history. The recommended fabrics include cotton blends, gingham, poplin, and linen, with view B also suitable for scalloped border prints. Views A and B require 7 3/4 inch buttons, while views C and D require 11. My plan is to make view B because I think it'll work beautifully with this striped fabric. I'm especially excited about cutting the side bodice pieces on the bias so that the stripes run in a different direction. That's one of my favorite ways to add visual interest to a garment without spending any extra money. The contrast between the straight grain and bias cut stripes can make a simple dress look much more sophisticated. I'll also be making the patch pocket version so I can continue playing with the stripe placement and really show off the fabric. I think the finished dress is going to have a classic timeless look with just enough detail to make it special. To finish the dress, I might use these navy blue buttons that I picked up on Amazon. The box contains 50 1-inch 4-hole buttons, which should keep me supplied for quite a while. Since I'm working on a blue capsule wardrobe, these buttons are exactly the type of basic sewing staple I need to have on hand. Not only are they a great match for this dress, but they'll also work with many other blue projects waiting in my sewing queue. One thing I've learned over the years is it's worth stocking up on notions and colors you use frequently. There's nothing more frustrating than finishing a project and realizing you're 1 button short or have to make a special run to the fabric store for something simple. By keeping versatile buttons like this in my sewing supplies, I'm ready whenever inspiration strikes. I think these buttons will look especially nice against the navy stripe fabric. They're classic, practical, and understated, which is exactly what I want for a garment that's intended to be part of a capsule wardrobe. The goal is to create pieces that mix and match easily, and these buttons will help give the dress a polished finish while keeping the overall look timeless. This Amazon Basics Kids Sheet Set in Navy Galaxy print. Even though it's marketed as children's bedding, I immediately saw it as sewing potential when I spotted the fabric. The navy background scattered with stars and galaxies is right up my alley. Since it's polyester, it should be durable while feeling soft and comfortable to wear. According to the listing, these sheets offer strength, durability, and exceptional softness. They're also easy to care for, machine wash warm, avoid bleach, and tumble dry on low. As someone who likes clothing that can be tossed in the washing machine without special treatment, that's definitely a plus. For this fabric, I'm planning to sew McCall's 8492, a charming 1970s vintage reproduction pattern. This pullover dress and top pattern features a distinctive design where the front is gathered into bands that fold over to form the collar. The short sleeves have gathered caps that turn up to create cuffs, giving the garment a soft feminine look that is so characteristic of the 1970s. Dress View B includes a purchase belt, and because this is part of the McCall's authentic vintage collection, the pattern has been updated with additional sizes and modern cutting layouts while preserving the original design details. This easy sew pattern comes in two size ranges, 6 to 14 and 16 to 24. The recommended fabrics include challis, cotton blends, eyelet, gingham, lightweight cotton, and lightweight seersucker. The envelope specifically notes that View B works well in stripes, and there's also an optional suggestion to finish the hem with single fold or folded stretch lace. My favorite version is View A, the long dress. There's just something about those flowing 1970 maxi dresses that never goes out of style. I can picture it made up in this galaxy print with a big brim summer hat and comfortable sandals. It feels like the perfect dress for warm weather, whether you're heading to a picnic, a day out shopping, or simply enjoying a sunny afternoon. I also love that View D, the top version. I think it would look fantastic paired with my new look 6203 pants that I made from a sheet. The relaxed fit and lightweight fabric would make for a comfortable summer outfit, and I can imagine myself reaching for a combination like that again and again. Sometimes the best patterns are the ones that give you multiple garments you genuinely want to wear, and this pattern definitely checks that box for me. Next, I picked up 2 rolls of fold-over elastic. Each roll is 5 yards long and 1 inch wide. I chose the navy blue and jade because they're colors that will coordinate with a lot of the fabrics already in my stash. I also got a nice little surprise when the order arrived because the seller included some extra remnants in other colors. There were pieces of black, gray, green, and even white fold-over elastic with a multicolored leopard print. Those smaller pieces will be perfect for little projects where I don't need a full 5-yard roll. As a budget-conscious sewist, I always appreciate getting a little extra value from an order. I purchased the fold-over elastic especially for Burda Style 6964, a lingerie and shapewear pattern. This pattern is designed to create form-fitting foundation garments that provide shaping, support, and a smoother silhouette under clothing. According to Burda Style, the garment offers strong shape retention while remaining comfortable to wear. They're intended to be made from jersey fabrics that stretch and move with the body while still providing a figure-enhancing effect. Fold-over elastic is one of those notions that can really make a lingerie project look professional. It finishes the edges nicely, provides additional stretch and recovery, and creates a clean, polished appearance. It's also much softer against the skin than some of the traditional elastic finishes, which is important when you're making garments that sit close to the body all day long. I'm particularly excited about the navy blue elastic because it will coordinate beautifully with many of the navy fabrics in my collection from my capsule wardrobe. The jade is a little different from my usual color choices, but I thought it would be fun to have something fresh and unexpected for future lingerie or activewear projects, or to pair as an accent to the navy. Even if I don't use every last inch on this particular pattern, fold-over elastic is one of those sewing supplies that's always useful to have on hand in the sewing room. Between lingerie, knit garments, headbands, and other small accessories, I'm sure these rolls will get plenty of use over time. One thing I find interesting about fold-over elastic is that it's not just used for lingerie and shapewear. In fact, I spotted it in the July 2024 issue of Burda Style magazine on mini dress 119. Burda described the design as being reminiscent of a sporty tennis dress, featuring a pleated skirt and athletic-inspired styling. What caught my eye was their use of contrasting fold-over elastic at the V neckline and sleeve edges. They even suggested repeating the contrast color in the pleated section of the skirt to tie the whole look together. According to the magazine, this design choice serves 2 purposes. First, it emphasizes the sporty tennis-inspired aesthetic of the dress. Second, it helps the garment maintain its shape by stabilizing the edges. It's a great reminder that fold-over elastic can be both decorative and functional at the same time. Seeing examples like that give me even more ideas for future sewing projects. We often think of fold-over elastic as something reserved for underwear and activewear, but it can also be used as a design element on everyday garments. A pop of contrasting color around a neckline or sleeve edge can change the look of a garment while adding durability at the same time. That's one of the things I love about sewing. Sometimes a simple notion can inspire entirely new project ideas. What started out as a purchase for a lingerie pattern has me thinking about dresses, knit tops, and all other sorts of possibilities. Next, I picked up this 3-piece twin size sheet set by Best Season in a classic red and white stripe. The sheets are made from 100% polyester and are advertised as being soft, breathable, machine washable, and suitable for tumble dry on low heat. By now, you probably noticed that I love sewing with sheets. They're one of my favorite budget-friendly fabric sources because I get so much more yardage for the price. I had great success with sheet projects in the past, including my New Look 6203 pants and my Simplicity 8999 pants made from a blue queen size sheet. I've also sewn McCall's 2138, a vintage dress from sheet fabric. These projects turned out so well that I'm always on the lookout for interesting colors and prints. For these stripe sheets, I'm planning to make McCall's 8449, a pattern that was released in 2024. McCall's 8449 features a collection of pullover dresses with placket fronts, collars, and several sleeve and length variations. View C includes buttons on the front placket, and the pattern also comes with a separate optional sash that can be worn to create a more defined waistline. It's rated as an average sewing pattern and comes in 2 size ranges, 8 to 16 and 18 to 26. The recommended fabrics include challis, cotton blends, linen, and poplin. View B requires 2 3/4 inch buttons, while View C uses 5 5/8 inch buttons on the placket. My plan is to combine a few of the pattern options to create exactly the look I want. I'm going to make View A because I love the relaxed drop shoulders and cuffed sleeves, but I'm going to use the longer skirt length from View C. I think that combination will create a comfortable, easy to wear dress that's perfect for summer. I'm also planning to make the matching sash. One thing I love about sewing is that you can experiment with styling options after the garment is finished. If I like the sash as a belt, great, but if I decide I prefer the dress without it, I can always wear the sash as a hair scarf instead. I think a red and white striped hair scarf could look really cute and help tie the whole outfit together. The stripes are what sold me on the fabric. Stripe prints give you so many opportunities to play with fabric placement, and I can imagine using the stripes in different directions on the placket, cuffs, or sash to add a little more visual interest. It's a simple print, but sometimes those classic designs make the most timeless garments. I think this dress is going to have a fun, cheerful summer feel while still being versatile enough to wear for years to come. The next item in my haul isn't something nearly as exciting as fabric or patterns, but it's every bit as important. Zippers. I picked up a package of 60 24-inch navy blue dress zippers. These are non-separating zippers with a nylon coil and metal slider, making them perfect for dresses and other garment projects. I decided to stock up because I realized I was completely out of dress zippers. It always seems like I discover I need one when I'm in the middle of a project, so having a supply on hand will save me from making last-minute trips to the fabric store. Since so many of my current projects are blue, navy felt like the most practical color to buy. One of the projects these zippers will be used for is New Look 6806, a pattern from the 1990s. The dress has a semi-fitted silhouette, falls to mid-calf, and includes several sleeve variations. It features a back zipper closure, making these navy zippers the perfect choice. The recommended fabrics for New Look 6806 include cottons and cotton blends, silk and silk-like fabrics, crepe, and rayon. For my fabric, I've chosen a fabric that was waiting in my stash for just the right project. It's a fun geometric print featuring overlapping circles in shades of navy blue, royal blue, sky blue, gray, and black. The design has a very retro feel to it, almost like something from the late 1960s or 1970s, while still looking modern enough to wear today. I love how the different circles overlap and create movement across the fabric. From a distance, the print almost looks abstract, but when you look closer, you can see all the different layers and shades of blue. And of course, the fabric has a great budget sewing story behind it. I found it during one of Len's Mill's legendary clearance sales. The original price was $6.92 per meter, and there were 4.2 meters left on the bolt. Thanks to a discount of 85%, I was able to buy the entire remaining piece for just $4.36. That's the kind of deal that makes my budget sewing heart happy. For less than a price of a fancy coffee, I got enough fabric for a complete dress and even leftover fabric for more projects. Moments like that are exactly why I always check the clearance section. You never know you're going to find the perfect fabric at an unbelievable price. The geometric print paired with the classic silhouette of New Look 6806 made a striking dress. The navy zipper blended right into the design, and the finished garment fits perfectly into my growing blue capsule wardrobe. The next item in my haul is something that I hope will make a big difference in my sewing room: sewing machine lights. One challenge I've always had is sewing with dark fabrics and threads in the evening. Navy blue and black can be especially difficult because the fabric, thread, and everything just blends together under regular room lighting. Sometimes it's hard to see exactly where the stitching line is, and threading the machine can become more of a challenge than it should be. The lights are designed specifically for sewing machines. They have a peel and stick backing that allows them to be attached directly to the machine. And they also include small adhesive clips to keep the USB cord neatly out of the sewing path. I love that detail because the last thing I want is a cord getting tangled up while I'm trying to sew. The kit also came with an AC adapter so I can plug it directly into my power bar rather than having to use a computer or USB battery pack. That makes it much more convenient for everyday sewing. I installed the lights on my Singer Fashion Mate sewing machine, and I think they're going to be especially helpful for some of the projects I've shown in this haul. Between the navy sheet sets, the dark blue capsule wardrobe fabrics, navy zippers, and darker threads, I've been working with a lot of deep colors lately. As I've gotten older, I've realized that good lighting is one of the most important sewing tools you can have. We spend so much time thinking about sewing machines, scissors, rotary cutters, and specialty feet, but being able to clearly see what you're doing can make sewing more accurate, more enjoyable, and a lot less tiring on your eyes. I'm looking forward to putting these lights to the test on my next navy blue sewing project. If they help me see dark fabrics and stitching lines more clearly, they'll be worth every penny. Sometimes it's the simplest tools that make the biggest difference in the sewing room. The next item I picked up was this 8-piece sewing loop kit set. The kit includes 2 flexible plastic drawstring threaders, 2 stainless steel loop turners, 2 metal drawstring threaders, and 2 pairs of metal tweezers. Since there were 2 of everything, I kept 1 set for myself and gave the extras to my mom. It's always nice when a sewing purchase can benefit both of us. What's great about these tools is that they're small, inexpensive, and easy to overlook, but they can save an incredible amount of time and frustration. In fact, they already earned their place in my sewing room. I recently used one of the metal drawstring threaders to replace the elastic in a pair of pajama pants. If you've ever tried feeding elastic through a casing with a safety pin, you'll know that it works, but it can be a slow process. The threader made the job much easier and quicker. I've also used one of the loop turners while making my New Look 6345 dress from 1995. The pattern features delicate spaghetti straps, and turning narrow loop fabric tubes right side out can be one of those sewing tasks that tests your patience. The loop turner made the process much simpler and gave me a neat, professional looking straps. New Look 6345 is a sleeveless dress with front and back darts and an interesting button detail running from the underarm down to the hip. The pattern includes 2 lengths, one above the knee and another that falls above the ankle. It's a simple design, but the side button detail gives it a unique look that's very characteristic of 1990s fashion. One thing I love about these sewing tools is that they don't seem very exciting when you buy them, but once you start using them, you wonder how you ever managed without them. Whether you're making spaghetti straps, fabric ties, belt loops, drawstrings, or replacing elastic, these little gadgets can turn a tedious job into a quick one. For a budget sewist, that's the kind of purchase I like to make. They're affordable, they'll last for years, and they'll be useful on dozens of future projects. I have a feeling that these tools are going to get a lot of use in my sewing room. The next item I bought was a set of 10 round metal buttons. They're 25 millimeters in size and feature a classic navy blue background with a gold coat of arms design. As soon as I saw them, I immediately thought of tailored jackets and coats. They have a very polished traditional look, that reminds me of high-end ready-to-wear and designer outerwear. Right now, I'm leaning towards Vogue 1971, a beautiful coat pattern that offers 5 different lengths. This line-fitted coat features princess seams and shoulder straps, and a double-breasted front closure that can be made with either buttons or snaps. View A includes a contrasting upper collar, while View A features a luxurious faux fur upper collar. The overall silhouette is classic and elegant, with just enough structure to create a sophisticated look. What appeals to me about this pattern is the variety of lengths included in a single envelope. Whether you prefer a shorter coat or a dramatic full-length version, there's an option for almost every wardrobe and occasion. One of my favorite styling tricks is matching the length of the coat to the dress worn underneath. There's something so elegant and put together about seeing the hem of the coat and the hem of the dress end at the same point. It creates a long, streamlined silhouette that always looks intentional and refined. That's one reason why I find Vogue 1971 so appealing. With 5 coat lengths to choose from, I can coordinate the coat with dresses I already own or plan future sewing projects around it. It's almost like having several coat patterns in one envelope. The navy and gold buttons would be a perfect finishing touch. The gold coat of arms detail gives them a timeless, almost military-inspired look that works beautifully with a double-breasted coat. They look far more expensive than they actually were and would add a touch of elegance to a handmade garment. Whenever I see a beautifully coordinated coat and dress ensemble, I'm reminded of Catherine, Princess of Wales. She often wears coats that perfectly complement the dress underneath, creating a polished and sophisticated appearance. It's a classic styling choice that never seems to go out of fashion. I think that these buttons combined with Vogue 1971 could make a truly stunning coat. It's definitely one of those future projects that I'm already excited to start planning. The next item I bought was 7 yards of this beautiful blue Jacquard ribbon. It features an elegant woven pattern highlighted with gold accents, and if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I love anything with a touch of gold. The ribbon is made from 100% polyester and is marketed for a variety of projects, including hair accessories, home decor, clothing, purchases, scrapbooking, table runners, placemats, pillowcases, and more. I always appreciate supplies that can be used in multiple ways because it gives me more flexibility when planning future projects. For me, this ribbon is headed for my sewing room. I think it would make a beautiful trim on hats and dresses, especially some of the vintage inspired patterns in my collection. I could also see it being used as a belt to add a little extra color and detail to a simple dress. Sometimes a garment doesn't need much, just a special trim or accessory to make it feel unique. The combination of blue and gold is one of my favorite color pairings. The blue feels classic and versatile, and the gold adds just enough richness to make it look special. I think it has a slightly regal feel to it without being over the top. From a budget sewing perspective, I was quite happy with the price as well. The ribbon cost $14.69 for 7 yards, which works out to be $2.10 per yard. Considering the quality of the woven jacquard design and the metallic gold accents, I think that's a very reasonable price. One thing I've learned over the years is that trims like this can transform a project. A simple dress made from an inexpensive fabric can suddenly look much more expensive when it's finished with a beautiful ribbon or decorative trim. That's one of my favorite budget sewing tricks, using affordable fabrics but elevating them with thoughtful details. Even though I don't have a specific project in mind yet, I know this ribbon won't sit in my stash for long. Between dresses, hats, belts, and accessories, I'm sure I'll find the perfect use for it. Sometimes the hardest part is deciding which project it gets first. Next up is this adorable cosmetic bag that immediately caught my attention because of the saying printed on it. Socialist. One who would rather be sewing all the time. I thought that was absolutely perfect. If you're watching this channel, there's a pretty good chance you can relate. I know I certainly can. There always seems to be another project I want to start, another pattern I want to try, or another fabric I want to sew. Even though it's marketed as a cosmetic bag, I'm not entirely sure that's how I'm going to use it. Right now, I keep my crochet hooks in a pencil case, so this bag opens up a lot of possibilities for organizing my sewing and crafting supplies. One idea is to use it for my knitting notions. It would be a great place to store stitch markers, row counters, cable needles, tape measures, and needle gauges. Having everything together in one place would make it easy to grab whenever I start a knitting project. I'm also considering using it as a sewing project bag. It would be perfect for holding buttons, zippers, trim, elastic, labels, and other small notions that belong to a specific garment. If you've ever spent 20 minutes looking for the buttons you bought 6 months ago for a dress you're finally ready to sew, you'll understand why that's appealing. Another possibility is using it to organize hand sewing supplies. It could easily hold needles, threads, small scissors, needle threaders, and other tools that tend to disappear into the depths of the sewing basket. One thing I've learned over the years is that you can never have too much sewing organization. Every time I find a better way to store my supplies, I spend less time searching for things and more time actually sewing. That's always a win in my book. So while I haven't completely decided how I'm going to use this bag yet, I know it won't stay empty for long. Between sewing, knitting, crocheting, and other crafting projects, I'll have no trouble finding a purpose for it. And even if it's just sitting on my sewing table, the saying on the front makes me smile every time I see it. The next item I picked up is this beautiful cardinal embroidery kit. As soon as I saw it, I knew I had to have it. The bright red cardinal purchased on the flowered branch is absolutely gorgeous, and I think it's going to be a very enjoyable project to work on. What I like about this kit is that it comes with everything you need to get started. Inside the package is pre-printed fabric, an embroidery hoop, colored embroidery floss, embroidery needles, with detailed instructions. The instructions not only tell you which colors to use in each area, but also which embroidery stitches to use, which makes it a very beginner-friendly project. What I like about this kit is that it comes with everything you need to get started. Inside the package is the pre-printed fabric, an embroidery hoop, the colored embroidery floss, embroidery needles, and detailed instructions. The instructions not only tell you which colors to use in which area, but also which embroidery stitches to use, making it very beginner friendly. One thing to keep in mind is that the pattern is printed directly onto the fabric with washable ink. Once the embroidery is complete, the markings can be washed away, leaving only the finished design behind. Because of that, it's important not to get the fabric wet before you finish stitching, or you could lose the pattern lines before you're ready. For me, the biggest selling point was how convenient everything is. Sometimes when starting an embroidery project, you have to choose a pattern, decide on the color of floss to buy, make sure you have the right needles, and gather all the supplies before you can even begin stitching. This kit takes care of all of that work for you. There are days where I enjoy planning every little detail of a project, but there are also times where I just want to sit down, relax, and start creating. This kit is perfect for those moments. Everything has already been coordinated, so all I have to do is open up the package and start stitching. I also think that embroidery makes a wonderful companion hobby to sewing. There are times when I don't feel like setting up the sewing machine or cutting out a large project. Hand embroidery is much more portable and relaxing. I can work on it while watching television, listening to an audiobook, or enjoying a quiet evening with a cup of tea. The cardinal design is just so pretty. Cardinals are such striking birds with their brilliant red feathers, and I think this piece will look lovely displayed once finished. Whether I frame it, turn it into a decorative piece, or simply enjoy the process of making it, I know this is a project I'm looking forward to working on. Well, that's everything in my Amazon sewing and hobby haul. I picked up quite a variety of items this time, from sheet sets for future dresses, notions, zippers, buttons, ribbon, and sewing tools, to a few fun hobby supplies as well. What I love most about hauls like this is seeing the possibilities. Every sheet set is a future garment, every zipper is a dress waiting to be finished, and every button, ribbon, and trim has the potential to transform a project from simple to special. I'm especially excited about all the dresses I have planned. Between the constellation print, the galaxy print, the navy stripe, and the red and white stripes, I have enough fabric to keep me busy for quite some time. Add in the new notions and supplies, and I feel ready to tackle a lot of the projects that have been sitting on my sewing list. Of course, not everything has to be about productivity. Sometimes it's nice to have a project that's purely for enjoyment. Whether that's stitching the cardinal embroidery kit, organizing supplies in my new socialist bag, or simply spending a relaxing evening working on a bit of hand sewing with a cup of tea nearby. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love to know which item was your favorite and which project you were most excited to see me make. Was it one of the sheet fabrics, the vintage inspired patterns, the coat buttons, the Jacquard ribbon, or maybe the embroidery kit? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to BudgetSew. Thanks for watching. See you next time.